Hey everyone, how are you today? Terry G here, welcome everybody. Just wait here for a minute, wait till everybody comes. One person's on. How are you tonight? Terry G, have any questions? We have some topics tonight. We're going to talk about relapse a little bit. I'm going to give you a few pointers on relapse, how I relapsed, what led up to the relapse. Also, I'm going to talk about stability and something that a lot of people have problems with in recovery. And what that is overthinking. So there's some general topics that I'm going to talk about tonight when it comes to this live show tonight, to say the least. So stay tuned, and by the way, you can ask some questions. That would be great. Hey, Peter, how are you tonight, Peter B? You must have been waiting right by your phone. How's everything? Am I sounding okay? Everything coming through okay? So I'd like to welcome everybody. I'm Terry G. This is an alcohol-free life channel. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I am not a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I'm not an addiction counselor of no type. I'm just a recovering alcoholic like you, just an average Joe, trying to learn how to stay sober one day at a time. I opened my channel up a couple of years ago. I used to do a motivation a little bit that wasn't working out, and till somebody said, why don't you just talk about your drinking and how you got sobered up? And I thought that was a great idea. And I've done that, and my channel has blossomed, and I haven't looked back. So that's a little about me. So I just want to let you know that little disclaimer. First of all, we're going to talk about a little bit about relapse, a little about, I forgot what I was going to say, stability, and about overthinking. And alcoholics have a big problem with overthinking, especially in early recovery. Our mind just wants to race all the time. And I get that, because a racing mind can be difficult to harness or to slow down in early recovery. And stability is another thing that we have a problem with in early recovery. Stability, to build a good foundation of recovery, we need to have stability. We need to have accommodations. We need to look after ourselves when it comes to recovery and build a foundation. Because alcoholics in general are a very undisciplined lot, and we don't stick to the plan, and we have a hard time with getting a firm foundation in our life. General stuff like paying the rent, having a good place to live, or a decent place to live, either a room or wherever it is. I lived at the YMCA for many years in early recovery, and that helped me out a great deal. So it made me stable, it gave me some stability, and able to grow. So that's a really good thing to understand in early recovery. For a lot of us, it's kind of tough. We come into the program, we come into recovery very, a lot of negativity going on. We're unemployed. Maybe like me, my ex-wife's taking me to court. I didn't have any money, no food, no place to live, that kind of stuff. So it's very hard to recover when that is happening in your life, especially in early recovery. It really is. Some of us, are challenged like that. So getting that continuity in your life is very, very helpful, especially in early recovery, to start building that really great foundation for recovery. So if you have any questions about stability, or if you're having problems with it, by all means, leave me a question, and I'll try and answer it for you the best of my capability, okay? Like I say, my name is Terry G. This is an alcohol-free life channel where we learn to live sober one day at a time. I'm not a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I'm none of that. What I am is just a recovering alcoholic who took it one day at a time and has learned one day at a time how to stay sober, clean and sober from drugs, everything. So it's really helped me a lot. Hi Morgan, how you doing? I'm glad you showed up tonight. I'm glad you have another week sober, I bet. How was your week? Good to see you. We're talking about tonight, some of the topics let me just see here. Oh, if I can find them. Oh, forget it. I got new software out here, so I'm kind of green at it. Some of the topics tonight we're talking about is relapse, overthinking, obsessive thoughts, and stability in your recovery. Have I lost weight? Yeah, about 10 pounds. Good question, Peter. Yeah, I've lost about 10 pounds. That's it. Mind you, the camera, does it make you fatter or thinner? I think. I don't know what it does here. I think it makes you a little chubbier, the camera. So maybe I lost more than 10 pounds. But yeah, I've lost some weight. I'm good. I'm good, Morgan. Still sober by the grace of God. Right on, right on. Do you go to the 12-step program? Do you go to the 12-step programs of AA? Shouldn't ask you that question. I don't want to blow your cover. But by the grace of God, I kind of got a hint of that because I'm really familiar with that. Oh, there I am. Jeez, I lost my internet there for a second. Did I go out on you guys? Yeah, I lost my internet there for a second. I'm glad everybody stayed with me. So you're the Christian-based program, right on. I'm glad it's working for you. And you've tuned into my channel a couple of months back there, and it's really good that you're progressing in your recovery, Morgan. That's terrific. Yeah, the stream freezed for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why it froze. Am I froze right now? Because it looks like it's working properly on this side. But I want to talk about overthinking in recovery, because overthinking is a big problem for people in early recovery. I've heard about it a lot. It can drive people crazy in recovery. And those thoughts of, and they come to us in recovery usually when we're quiet. Usually when, we're going to sleep or we're by ourselves, we start having these thoughts that run rampant in our heads, and they cause a lot of difficulties to a lot of people in early recovery. So what do I do to help that? What do I do in recovery to do that? First of all, most of that overthinking stuff is wreckage of the past. And it's kind of like that, and it's connected with guilt and shame and all those kind of things, that overthinking, and it's fear and hurt mixed in with it. Fear of the future, feeling guilty of the past, a lot of worry going on in our minds. And for myself, it was a lot of undealt issues that I had in early recovery, and that caused a lot of overthinking in early recovery. It really did. My mind would not slow down. Mind you, I had charges against me. Like I said, I had nowhere to live. I had, I was going to family court. I had a lot of issues going on. So this thinking of mine was running rampant, and I was overthinking all the time. And I could do that to this day. I could get myself going down a bad neighborhood in recovery still. Hold on to a negative thought, and all of a sudden I'm going down that street of that negative thought, and I can obsess on that, and I can take it and still go with it. And in early recovery, that scenario that I just discussed with you, was was a lot more, and it caused a lot more difficulties. The best way that I dealt with that stuff is I understood it, but I talked about it. I went to counseling and I started to deal with some issues. And over time, my life started to come together again and the thoughts started to slow down. But having a peaceful mind in recovery takes work and it takes time. And a lot of us don't get that right off the bat. A lot of us can run back to the bottle to ease our mind. I know a lot of people that's had a busy mind, overthinking, not feeling, feeling uneasy and unable to have a peaceful mind, for lesser words. But thinking about it, doing some meditation, some mindfulness really helps. And to talk about it and talk about what's going on, it helps a lot when it comes to that. And by the way, thoughts are only words. And in the way we talk to ourselves is very, very important. So when it comes to those thoughts, we need to counteract them or be counterintuitive, the contrary thought, something contrary to that thought to ease it off. And a great way of doing it, like I always say, I say a lot on my posts, is to be active. Help someone else, call somebody else up, help another person who suffers from alcoholism, help somebody else out, stop thinking about ourselves, and that helps us a lot to get away from that, overthinking. So if you're having a problem with overthinking, it's very common. It's really hard to get rid of or to stop, but it will go away over time. It really will. Myself, I had a bad case of it. My God, though, I had a bad case of it. And a lot of those thoughts were very negative and they disturbed me. They caused me a lot of grief. They really, really did. So if you have any questions on overthinking, just go ahead and ask me. I'll be more than happy to answer that. Yeah, laughter. Good one, Peter. Laughter is good medicine. Having some good laughter and some fun in your sobriety can help you with that too. But also, Peter said it before to me one time. He said, just lighten up. In early recovery, we are so heavy, and I think that kind of goes with the territory because there's a lot going on. We don't come into Alcoholics Anonymous or into recovery because life was going well. I know for myself I did. I come into 12-step programs or into recovery because my life wasn't that great. So there was a lot of problems. So overthinking sort of goes with the territory, but to lighten up and have some laughter can really add to that. And in recovery, we need to remember that. Recovery itself can be hard and difficult, but we need to have some fun with it. We need to understand that we can have some fun too. It's not recovery is not a death sentence. It's not. And we need to understand that we can have fun. And I know the recovery business is kind of difficult at the beginning, and I know I'm repeating myself, but having fun is a great way of helping yourself out with the overthinking. It will go away. It will go away. But challenge those thoughts, replace that negative thinking, replace those negative vibes with some thoughts that are counterintuitive, like counter them, like a negative thought for a positive thought sort of thing. Well, what are some examples? Morgan asked, what are some examples? Okay, like contrary, like the word contrary, right? So if you have a negative thought and it's sort of taken over, the best thing to do, it's an action thing. To do this would be taking an action. I could send you a worksheet that would work for you, would help me a lot. And thinking of it, okay, you have a thought like, say I have financial difficulties. Just for an example, we can all relate to having financial difficulties, right? And thinking, no, I'm not going to have enough money. I'm going to have difficulties in the future. worry. I got some worry going on. I got some fear going on. I got some maybe unpredictability going on, fear of the future, some regret of the past, that kind of stuff. So what I do is I can write down on a piece of paper, what's the facts, okay? The mind can wander from us. The mind can take off from us. But the mind is like a muscle. We can train our mind to think, to get ourselves out of those ruts. We can train it. When we drank, our mind ran rapid. Thoughts ran rapid. So without the booze, we had nothing to control those overthinking thoughts. So what I do is contrary, right to the contrary, okay? So I'm having financial difficulties. I'm having problems financially. Okay? That's the problem. Then you write down proof. What's the proof of it? Okay? So for me, it would be like, oh, I got a roof over my head. So that's kind of counterintuitive. I can pay the rent, right? I can feed myself, feed my family. I have money for gas. I have a job that pays me every 2 weeks. So those thoughts are counterintuitive to the negative thought. So by doing that exercise, by taking that action, and you have to take the action though. You have to write it down and take it, that action against those thoughts. And then when you write it down, you'll see it. That what you're thinking is kind of not true. It's kind of not true. And you can convince yourself like that, and you can ask your friend. You can ask a friend, like, what do you think about this? How do you think I'm doing? You can ask somebody else. But the main thing is we have to fight back, not fight back, but come up with a way to combat those negative thoughts and taking the action, writing it down. What is reality? Because the thoughts that I'm thinking are not reality a lot sometimes. I don't know where they come from sometimes. When I'm tired, when I'm stressed out, when I'm depressed, whatever it may be, but I can get these negative thoughts. So I write down things contrary to them. And I do that a lot. I start doing that a lot. And I learned that. That's not from me. I learned it from someone else who told me about that. About learning how to contrary. What is to the contrary to those thoughts? Write it down. Take an action. Because I can think my way right into a disaster. What is not even reality. I can think my way right into it. No, Peter. Cappuccino and a good cigar. Well, it might be a good start for changing your mind, but I don't think, not on this show. Not on this show. But that's just an example of counteracting the negative thoughts. And you can use that exercise on pretty well everything that is troubling you with obsessive thinking. Because I got to stress it, and I'm repeating myself. The thinking that the thoughts that we have a lot of times are not really what's going on. They're really not. And I know for myself, they're really not. They're charged by fear, charged by past experiences. Just, it's out of reality. And I just like to tell you that. And those reality thoughts, you can go right down to the ghetto with them. You really can. I hope that was a good example. Yeah, write it down. Yeah, right, Morgan. It's a good idea. Usually everything I do when it comes to program, or when it comes to doing something that is problematic in my recovery, usually is backed up by an action. Taking an action really helps it out. And by just sitting there and stewing in it and overthinking it, it really doesn't make it any better. Write it down. Write down the negative thought. Write down some stuff. Write down the reality of it. And you can tell somebody about it too. You can tell your partner. You can tell your friend about it. You know, what do you think? And over time, that exercise will help. Guarantee it. And eventually, you'll be able to separate it when you're just walking down the street and have a negative thought. Gee, I'm thinking negative, I'm thinking bad or whatever, like about myself or whatever, about my recovery, it's not going well, I'm having a lousy day. Oh, well, that's another good example, having a lousy day in recovery. You know, we all have them. So by, you know, having a lousy day, you can always do it. You know what, well, I screwed up today, I got angry, say, for example. You can write down contrary examples. Okay, the last 90 days I never got angry at anybody. Maybe the last 6 months I never got angry at anybody. And you can write situations down where you thought you could have got angry, behavioral, mouthed off, or told somebody to F off. And you can write those examples down and just chalk it up to having a bad day. Not that you've reverted back to this angry SOB. Like myself, I had a big problem with anger. So I needed to really keep an eye on it. And when I got angry, I was very hypersensitive to it. So I had to do this to convince myself that I was making progress. So I hope that helps. But an action step, I could go on and on about it, because, and also if you're having a hard time getting out of it, a hard time with those thoughts, and they're causing you difficulties, which sometimes they can, we can't find our way out, what we need to do is maybe go and talk to a counselor about it, or somebody who's trusting, and tell them about it. But myself, I went to a counselor to get some extra help for some overthinking. A lot of worry, had a lot of worry going on in early recovery. Sounds like you. I don't know about that one, Peter. I don't know about that one, Peter B. Yeah, so, you know, relapse is another one, is a big one. And a lot of people, again, in early recovery, talk about relapse. And relapse, like I said before, I relapsed twice in my recovery. And I'm really not a firm believer in relapse. I'm really not. I don't think relapse is a part of recovery, but a lot of us do relapse. And when people talk about relapse, it's almost like it just kind of happened. And it just, you know, I just woke up one day and I found myself in front of a bar drinking a bottle of wine at home, or whatever it may be, just doing something, and before you knew it, I was drinking. Well, that sounds okay, and that sounds kind of reasonable to somebody who's not an alcoholic or somebody who's not in recovery. But really, the truth of the matter is, a relapse starts many weeks or months before we even pick the drink up. A relapse is like a planned drink. And what I'm talking about, we can start getting irritable and discontent, not feeling good in our own skin, having a problem with dealing with stress, maybe not going to meetings or talking to like-minded people, things like that. Isolating is a big one, and you can be isolating in a crowd if you have to. Like if you're in a crowd, you can be isolating. So that can be a problem. I'm just talking a little too fast. But isolation is another symptom of things are going wrong in one's life, especially in recovery. And those relapses start, like I say, weeks or months prior to the actual event. They really do. So all the signs for relapse were probably there, but we just didn't do anything about it, or we're not aware of it, or we think we got this one. You know, a lot of people come into recovery, I've seen it many times, they come into recovery, they think they got it made, they stop going to meetings, they start being self-reliant, they start relying on their own morals, start relying on their own thinking, blah, 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 and before you know it, they're relapsing. And if alcoholism was just a behavior, it was just a bad behavior, maybe staying away or going to meetings would work, but it doesn't. If we're an alcoholic and we got the disease of alcoholism, we need to maintain it. We need to maintain contact with like-minded people. This guy, yeah, baby. I think this Peter guy's been drinking here. Are you drinking? Talking about exorcisms in Mexico? I don't know. Anyways, I don't think that's true. I think he might be on the sauce, that guy. That Peter B might be on the sauce. But anyways, that's what I think about relapse. And like I said, I've relapsed twice and I did those things. So what can we do if we feel a relapse is coming on? Well, I think that question answers your question. I really do, Morgan. I really think that answers your question. So what can I do when I feel a relapse coming on? Like, how can I avoid it? Well, it's hard to avoid. They're hard to avoid, especially Morgan, if we're leading a big full life. If you have children, your work life, your married partner, whatever it may be. Hi AJ, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions about recovery or like to share something, feel free. So it's hard to avoid the feeling of relapse sometimes. Triggers start it. We talked last week about cravings, they can start it. How to avoid a relapse? Well, that's a good question. But when, like you said at the end of the questions, like when we can avoid it, how can I feel? When you start feeling like you're going to have a relapse. I think that's the answer to the question. When we start feeling that we're having a relapse or we're feeling our sobriety is slipping, it's a good time to reach out. Again, we need to take an action. And to understand that relapse is can be when I talk about, like cravings or relapse can be a part of it, but we don't have to react to it. And I think that's the main thing that we need to understand. We can feel like we're having a relapse coming on. We can feel like that. Like some days, like when I don't have enough cash, I feel like robbing a bank. Shouldn't say that, but kind of thing. But I don't react to it, right? It's the same thing with relapse. So when I feel, like I said last week, I went through a breakup one time and I felt like I was going to drink. I felt like I was going to relapse. I really did. So what did I do? I boosted up my medicine, my program. I boosted up my contact with my mentor and my sponsor. I boosted up all those things that I did to maintain my sobriety when things were relatively okay. But when things go a little bad, or I feel like I'm going to relapse, I feel like I'm going to drink, we need to boost up that. We need to reach out, not isolate, reach out and talk to people about what's going on. That's what we need to do. And that's what I would say to do, to understand what's going on. Don't be so much afraid of it, but reach out. You belong to a group, talk to somebody about that. I remember thinking that I was going to relapse so bad sometimes that my mouth would water in early recovery. I thought, geez, I'm going to relapse. But I never relapsed because I did exactly what I'm telling you to do. Suggesting to do. I'm not telling you to do anything. Take that back. Is that just to reach out and don't be afraid. Kind of soothe yourself a little bit, but don't isolate. Don't isolate. Okay, I always say when it comes to recovery, we need to take an action when counterintuitive. We need to be, the opposite sort of deal. Like Costanza would say, So that's what I would do. I would do exactly that. But hey, AJ, I just want to talk about, we're talking about overthinking. We're talking about stability in recovery, and we're talking about relapse. But you can ask any question you want. If you have a question about recovery, something you're thinking about, by all means, you can ask a question about it. So a little slow tonight, but that's okay. I just started this out, and I really like doing it. I really like doing that. I like carrying the message. I always think I like to Yeah, I know you're still sober there, Morgan. I know that. I knew that. I know you're like really into your program and you're really doing the best you can to get that sobriety. But I just want to tell you something, Morgan. It does get better. It really does. You get easier. You sort of get in that groove, and it just goes hand in hand eventually. Like I said, I've been in recovery for many, many years, and it's second nature to me. But I still do things. The things that I'm telling you to do on this live feed tonight, this live chat, is what I do too. It's what I do. It's not something that I just tell you to do and, it's fine. I do these things to help myself out in recovery because life gets tough. Some days I feel like I have no recovery. Some days it's like that. Some days my life is just, and I'm such a nervous wrecker, things aren't going that well for me. I feel like there's no recovery, but there is recovery. Even on the good days, even on the bad days, there is recovery because we're not drinking and we're doing the best we can for what we have to work with. And I think that's really important. As long as we're moving forward and do things in recovery, I believe that things will get better. I really do. And those first couple of years or those first couple of months can be very difficult. We're finding our new way. I came through a lot of trauma in childhood. I had a lot of difficulties in school as a young boy. Then at the age of 13, I started to booze, and I drank hard. I did a lot of drugs, coke, acid, marijuana, a lot of stuff I did. And I didn't have any coping skills even at that time. So when I sobered up, it was awful. It was really, it was awful. And I started to, it's like I was a fish out of water. And it was terrible. I learned my own way, I tell you. If it wasn't for my sponsor, my mentor in recovery, people that I knew who supported me, I don't think I would have ever sobered up. I don't think I'd ever sober up. AJ, let me just put your question up here. Awesome, thanks. Start following you a few months ago. Any advice being more confident in recovery? Oh, yeah. Confidence. It depends where you want to be confident. Just in general life, like being confident is connected to, I don't know what, I guess being confident is just generally being confident in recovery. Well, I don't know where you're at in your recovery because 7 months of recovery is fantastic. It really is. It really is. And being more confident for me is always about taking risks in life. Like I'm an old guy now, I'm 60 years old, but to start feeling more confident in my recovery, I had to start taking risks in my recovery. And I had to start taking risks. Somebody just called me, sorry. I had to start taking risks in my recovery to start being more confident. I have a reading and writing problem, AJ. My reading skills are really lousy. And they're better now, but in early recovery, they're really bad. So for me to get up and read something in front of the group was a big risk for me. But once I did it, and to somebody else, it would be a small risk to somebody else. Believe me, that's simple, easy. But for me, I would vibrate. I'd have a lot of difficulties. So taking little risks really helped me build my confidence. After reading in front of about 50 people, I got a little more confident. After, going to getting a job and asking for a pay raise, just taking little risks in your life, things that you're afraid to do. And they can be very small things or things you want to accomplish in your life. Like, I don't know if you want to, I don't know that much about you, but if you want to just go back to school or get your driver's license or ask a girl out or rent an apartment, just do little things in your life that you want to do that you've never done. I don't care if it's riding a bike or going ice skating or swimming or, climbing mountains. That helps you with self-identity. building your, because you're doing it because you want to do it, so it can help you with your self-identity, and also build your confidence. And the way it builds your confidence is that you're doing things for yourself that you enjoy. Just you enjoy. So it helps a lot like that too. And that's what I do. I do a lot of that. I take little risks here and there. Like doing this live feed is kind of like a little risk for me, right? And so just little risks moving forward, things that you would not normally do. Maybe for myself, I was really unreliable in early recovery. So, showing up on time, being more reliable, keeping to my word, those kind of things, all those kind of things, looking after myself, having some fun things, doing some fun things for myself. A lot of times we think that the answer to, sometimes the answer to my problem are big answers. And they say big problems, but sometimes the answers are very small. Sometimes the answers, like I was saying to Morgan, are taking some sort of action, taking some sort of risk that can help us benefit in our lives, get us closer to our dreams. Because recovery is about that, right? It's not always about struggling. It's not always about struggles and, working the program and doing all that. It's about adding to our lives too, using your recovery to build the life that you want to have, the life that you want. And the life that you want is much different than the life I want. But using what you have, your 7 months of recovery, which is fantastic, by the way. 7 months. I remember when I had 7 months recovery, I was on top of the world. But having 7 months recovery, that's a great thing. That's a great thing. But if we have 7 months recovery and we're not doing anything with it, it's hard to feel grateful and have some confidence about that. So try that out, AJ. Try doing something either that you want to do for self-improvement or just some fun thing that you want to do, but you've never done it. For whatever reasons, you've just never done it. Follow through. When you talk to people and they ask you to do something, follow through. Take some risks in your life. You want to ask a girl out. You want to, get a new job. You want to do something. Take a little bit of risk, and that'll start building your self-worth and your confidence. Because if you're anything like me, when I was in recovery, well, I'm still in recovery, but early recovery, when I came in, I was really beaten up. I was really beaten up in my recovery. So I had a lot of self-worth issues. So that climb out of that hole of not feeling good about myself, it took some time, but it's possible. It's very possible to have a great life in sobriety. I always say that. Sobriety is not a death sentence. Sobriety is not boring. It can be happy, joyous, and free. It can be incredible, but we need to apply ourselves. We can become just like anybody else. But the only thing is, I don't drink. That's the only difference. I just don't drink. But the accomplishments I've made in my life have been pretty terrific. They really have. They really have. So that's. I hope I answered your question, AJ. So just try a few risks, try a few different things out, and try and do some things for yourself that personally that you like to do. Okay, that you like to do. Okay. And 7 months is fantastic. I think I've noticed you in a few videos of mine. I mean, leaving some comments. So, well, working on the steps. I'm on step 2. Are you still working the steps? Like currently, are you now time? Working the steps. Yeah, that's a 12-step program, eh, guys? And that's where I originated from. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't represent Alcoholics Anonymous. I think it's a great program. Some people may disagree, but I think it's a great program. It really helped me a lot, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You're on step 2. Yeah. Came to believe, eh? Yeah, that's, how long you been on step 2 for, Morgan? How long you been on step 2? I think you've had, yes, I think you got quite a few months of sobriety, eh? I've gone through the steps myself. I go through them all the time. I don't go through them in a formal way, but I go through them like in my life. I work them in my life. I've done a number of step 4s and step 5s, and I work step 10 a lot. I do a lot of that kind of stuff. I do a lot of steps all the time. So it's not that I never stop working the steps. I'm always doing it. I'm always working it. I'm always working that recovery stuff, those steps. I'm always working in my life. Recovery, like the steps in recovery is not like a destination to me. It's a work in progress. It's somewhere, it's a work in progress. It's a journey. And doing the steps is a part of that journey. To implement those steps in my life is why I'm sober today. It gives me the tools, and it gives me the direction in life, how to maintain my sobriety. Because, you know, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous are basically a way of life. It's just a different way of life for people. That's all it is. It's a way of life. And the steps are designed for alcoholics or addicts, whoever it is. It's got tons and tons of derivatives from the 12 steps, but it's a way of life for people. So to make a long story short, I work all my steps every day. No, I should say every day. I work different steps. I work step 10s a lot. You know, promptly admitted it when we're wrong to people. Prayer, meditation, that kind of stuff. I do all that kind of stuff quite a bit. But physically taking an action on the steps, have I done them all like that? No. But I've done a good many, I shouldn't say a good many, maybe 4 or 5 step 4 and 5s. I've done those. But the steps themselves are a part of my life, and I always work them. I'm always doing it, like recovery all the time. I'm really into recovery. I don't go out and shout it, but I like being sober. I really do. I really like being like this because, you know, I had a lot of difficulties, man. You guys are seeing me in the prime, in the good times. You're seeing me in the good times, in the good life, right? But, you know, there was a lot of times that it was horrible. Sorry, some guy asked me a stupid question. I think the guy's on the sauce. I don't know, guys. He's asking me about the Ouija board. I think he's on the sauce, that guy. Should we kick him off? Just let me know. I'll kick him off. He might get the boot. I have to give him the boot. But you know, that's what it's for, right? It's always for drunks, right? We're allowed to have drunks on this show, on this live stream, because that's what it's all about. But so working the step 2 slowly for about a month. Yeah, I was kind of crazy, eh? We come in, how long have you been sober? I've been sober 29 years. 29 years. When I say that, I'm so proud. And thanks a lot for asking the question there. How long have you been sober? What was the most difficult time? Wow. I've been sober for 29 years. It's the question asked. And what was the most difficult time? Well, I don't want to discourage anybody by me talking about this, but it took, when I came into recovery, I was really mixed up. I was crying all the time. I had a lot of anger. I felt like a victim. I had a lot of difficulties, man. Oh man, did I have a lot of difficulties. I didn't think I would be able to stay sober. I really didn't. I went to 12-step programs. I went to recover. I went to therapy. I was doing everything. So the most difficult times for me, and were probably the first 5 years of recovery. 5 to 6, 5 years. The first 5 years of recovery were difficult. And I don't want to discourage anybody. 5 years sounds like a hell of a long time, and it was. But I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of issues going on. So the first 5 years I found the most difficult. But I still sober through them. I stayed like that. And, I was going through criminal charges. I had a lot of difficulties in getting employment. I had divorce court. There was a lot of unfinished business happening in early recovery that had to be fixed from the wreckage of the past. Assault charges. There's other charges I had to look after. I thought I was going to go to jail. Things like that. And just overall. So the first 5 years was the most difficult. But as it went on, things got a lot better. Like 1 year I felt the 1 year was pretty good. When you're just sobering up, I thought, that year is pretty good. It's pretty new. Everybody's giving you kudos. My mom and dad were very pleased with everything. Those kind of things. So the first year, but once the emotions started coming in, and once, I didn't get along with my ex, there was cops being called to the house, there's anger outbursts and all that. After, towards the first year, end of the first year, a lot of difficulties start to occur in my sobriety. So I was having a lot of problems with it there. And so, so the first 5 years, but in those 5 years, there was always progression going on. It wasn't always doom and gloom. There's always something really good going on too, right? A lot of good stuff happening. It's just that those years were difficult. Everybody's on their own timeline when it comes to recovery. Everybody is on their own timeline. So somebody might come into recovery and somebody might start in recovery and you look at them, geez, look at them, look how great they're doing. And they probably are doing great, or maybe not, who knows? And you might compare yourself like I used to compare myself. Why do they got the good job, the partner, the baby carriage, all that kind of stuff. And look at me, I can't even hold a job. But everybody's on their own time, right? We're all on our own timeline. We're all on our own. There's no like by 1 year you should be like this, or by 6 months, or by 4 months, or by 3 months you should be like this, or by 10 years you should be like this. We're all on our own timeline. I like to say, like, I love you to get your, good stuff happening quickly. But if it's not, don't get discouraged. If you're have sobriety one day at a time, you're sobering and you're doing all the do things, you are progressing, you are moving forward. And that's a great thing, right? It just may not feel like it at times, but you are moving forward for sure. Because I thought I wasn't at times, but I was moving forward. I really was, because staying clean and sober is the main thing, right? As long as we're doing that one day at a time, we have hope. We have opportunity to get better in our lives, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. We have hope to do that. We can do that. But if we drink, the hope's gone. It's a disaster. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Like, I can't tell you if you're an alcoholic. I can't tell anybody they're an alcoholic. All I can say is that I'm an alcoholic. And, when I came into recovery, people didn't even think I was an alcoholic. I was I was a loner. I didn't really have many friends. I stayed by myself. I drank by myself a lot. And I just did those kind of things. And when I came in, people didn't think I was an alcoholic, but I knew I was an alcoholic. I knew, because I was out of control. I knew I was out of control emotionally. I was very unstable. And it was a really bad way to live. It really was. It was a horrible way to live. I came into I've told you before, my first time was 22. I was a full-blown alcoholic around 18 years old. I started drinking when I was 13, drinking and drugging when I was around 14, full-blown alcoholic at 18. I went to recovery at 22. I left. I came back when I was 28, and then it took me to 31 to get 1 year of staying off the booze. And was a horrible life, man. I had no money, nothing. I remember I going down to my car one day, and going down to work to get my car, and they re-pulled my car, man, right out of the underground parking lot. They re-pulled it. I was like floored. I was floored when that happened. That didn't suit me at all. That didn't suit me at all. So I just want to talk a little about stability. I don't know if we have much time. I don't know if this thing's going to shut off, but I just want to talk about stability and getting a good foundation in recovery. Like, if you can, wherever you live, like in Canada here, we got social services. People, we can live in halfway houses. We have a YMCA. We can rent. Well, the rentals are very expensive now. I don't know how people are doing it now with the rentals. But getting a good stable place where you can live, and getting good sleep. I know this might sound basic, but getting good sleep, staying busy, getting stability in your life, going to regular meetings or regular support groups for your alcoholism or drug addiction is a terrific thing to do. It really is. Like I say, eating, do a little bit of exercise, getting the basics down for you can give yourself a launch pad to get sobriety, to give yourself that launch pad. And a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine in early recovery had a hell of a time with that stability part in their lives in early recovery. But it's a really big factor for getting recovery. It's gigantic. It really is. So, doing that and getting that firm foundation for your recovery. Okay? And like I say, my name is Terry G. It's an alcohol-free life. I just want to tell you, my channel is all about building awareness and getting the message out there that the disease of alcoholism is very real, and it's an illness, and it's a mental illness, it's an emotional illness, and it can take you down, and it's very real. And if you think you have a problem with alcohol, if you think it's taking over your life and you're having difficulties, just try and stop for a while. Reach out, try and get some help. Get out there and try and do something about it. Just give it a try, and just do that, okay? Thanks, Morgan. Thanks a lot. Thanks for everybody. I'm going to be cutting out here in a couple of minutes. This is go on for about an hour. Just want to stop by and talk to everybody. What I'm looking for, if I could ask somebody, if somebody would like to come on here with me as a guest in my recovery, you can email me through my channel. I really appreciate that. And we can do some interviewing, or you can tell some people on this channel about your recovery journey and how recovery has changed your life. I'm looking for some people who would like to do that in the near future, okay? So I'm Terry G, and I'm just gonna cut out now. And I just want to thank everybody for stopping by and listening to me tonight. If you have any other topics, I'm not going to go live every week. I'm going to go live maybe periodically. But if you have any other topics that you'd like to talk about, or you have any questions about sobriety or something that's going on in your life and you'd like to ask me, maybe I can help you out. If I can't, I most definitely will find out the answer and I'll get back to you on it. You can email me through my channel, or you can mention it in the comments about one of my videos, okay? So that's it for me tonight. It's been about an hour, and I just want to say thank you very much to everybody, and thanks for stopping by. God bless. I'll see you next time. Thanks for viewing my channel. My name is Terry G. Stay safe, and just remember, we're all in this together, okay? We're all in this together. Your life can be great, and it probably is great. If you're sober, it is great. Guarantee it, okay? I'll see you all later. I'm going to be cutting out now, okay? Bye for now. See you later. Bye-bye.